We're on the eve of the 2024-2025 Australian Women's Ice Hockey League about to begin, and this starts Melbourne Ice's 15th year as a club within the AWIHL, off the back of a very successful last season, winning the McKowen Memorial Trophy for an incredible 8th time. Congratulations, Curtis. Welcome. Thanks for joining Network Hockey here today. Congratulations to you and the entire team. How's the team looking this year in the lead up to the new season?
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, last year was fantastic. Great result. We're super happy with it. I mean, last year was a bit of a challenge. We went through some ups and downs, but we came out on top, which is end of the year, all that matters. I think this year we're looking stronger than we did last year. Probably one of the strongest teams we've put together. We've had a lot of players returning from playing overseas, couple back from having children. So, and those are all strong depth players with a lot of experience. So them coming back this season is making us extremely strong. So we're really excited. Team's looking good. We've started early this year with practices and, a couple weeks away before the season starts. So we're super excited.
Absolutely. Now, we mentioned you are the defending champs from last season. What preparations are being made for defending the title this year, and how do you maintain a winning mentality this season?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a lot of this year is because the core was returning, and the girls that were away have played for the ice in the past, a lot of them. So coming into this year, we're just kind of building off of a lot of the systems and momentum we had last year with training. We've tried to organize ourselves a lot more professionally than we did last year as a team around just the logistics of putting together a more professional program for the girls this year. Brought in a really solid coaching staff to help keep that winning mentality going, and just making sure the girls are having fun, making sure we're reminding them of what we did last year and what it took to get through the season and make those pushes through the grind of the playoffs. Just really it's about carrying the momentum forward and really having that championship mindset in the dressing room. So.
Yeah, that's really important to keep that mindset. A lot of teams all have the premiership hangover, so it's really important that they understand that and they keep that mentality moving forward.
Yeah, and for us, a lot of it is winning is kind of how we like to approach winning is that's the standard, and it's when you win, cool, next day type of a mindset, as opposed to riding too high off the win. Obviously, we celebrated. It's great to have the win, but we already started to focus on next year. Once we lifted that cup, it was back to work, right? Next season, next win, right? So
absolutely. Can you share any of these new strategies or approaches in your game plan that you plan to implement this year?
Yeah, so a lot of what we're trying to approach is trying to play more modern style of hockey. We have a lot of skill and a lot of speed on our team, so using that to our advantage. And really focusing on being aggressive defensively. So taking away space in the neutral zone, taking away time for the other team so that they don't have time to react and make poor decisions under the pressure. So we're really trying to focus on
an aggressive, suffocating gameplay.
Yeah, exactly. Extremely aggressive, suffocating gameplay. And then just collapsing back into solid defensive structure and routes and patterns. So, yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. Now, reflecting on that incredible 4-1 win over the Perth Inferno in the championship game last season, what key factors set you apart from the competition, and what areas of focus or improvements are you prioritising this season in the team's growth?
Yeah, I think obviously that 4-1 win against Perth is huge. I mean, not only to win the championship, but Perth arguably has one of the best goaltenders in the league in Sasha King. And for us, it was a big focus going into that game to not let that get into our head. We had beaten her in the past, and we were ready to get pucks by her again, and we showed that we could. And I think, just for us, it's really building off the back end, building off the defense, building those structures coming out is kind of how we want to focus and implement from there forward.
So just moving the puck forward from the D zone through neutral ice.
Yeah, exactly, and having strong fundamentals when it comes to D, making sure that we're protecting the house, giving them shots if from bad angles, not giving them the good angle shots, not letting them get that traffic to the net, just clearing that puck out, and clearing it out of our zone. Struggled a little bit with zone clearance last year, so that's been a big focus going into the season, is really getting that puck with control out of our zone, across the blue line, and then good aggressive play through the neutral zone to gain, to establish ourselves offensively. And we have a lot of offensive talent, so once we get into their zone, it's going to be very dangerous. So.
Oh, that's going to be fantastic. So it's really important to make sure that every player on every line can work well together as a great line, and it really becomes about recognising team culture as being paramount.
Yeah.
In a team's success. How do you foster that culture, especially with new teammates and your development squads breaking through into the ranks?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, team culture has been a massive focus for us this year, and a lot of us from the leadership of the coaches has been letting the players take ownership for their own culture. I think sometimes you get that culture where coaches want to kind of push culture on the players. We wanted it to come authentically from the players, so we've brought in sports psychologists to work with the team already this year to to work with them to build their own cultural framework and their own ethos going into the season. So their ethos is a lot about having fun this year, playing hard, but laughing harder, I think, is their motto that they came up with, and I think that's going to be a good mindset for the girls to go into the season with and carry that on. So.
Absolutely, that's going to be incredible to look forward to. You'll see that all over their social media.
Yeah, for sure.
What challenges do coaches face when balancing the complexities of the players' mental health and their physical well-being while maintaining the high standards in sporting organisations?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of highly competitive players who want to win and who want to see the best out of not only themselves but the players they're around. So as coaches, I think the challenge comes down to a little bit of ego management, and I think we have a great team of not only our leadership team that we've established, but also the players that aren't in that leadership team are all leaders from within, and that's something we've really focused on last year and especially this year is putting that ownership on everyone to lead the team around them and not focusing on that individualism but on that team mentality, and that's something we've really focused on as coaches to try and establish early so that once it gets into the season and the tough times happen and losses happen, we can fall back on that as coaches and give that back to the girls to take that culture and that onus on themselves and that ownership. So yeah.
It's really, really good. When everyone has their own sort of mentor element within a club, when the bad times do come, who really breaks out in your team to take that onus and say, hey, we need to regroup, we need to move forward, let's settle? Who takes charge, or is it really up to every player in the team?
We like to leave it up to every player in the team, but we have a great leadership team this year with some veteran players that, like our captain Steph Cochran, who's been around the team for quite a while and has a lot of respect from the players. So when that needs to have that extra little bit of emphasis or whatnot, we'll rely on her to really drive that from the team, and then keep reminding in trainings and our meetings with the team to keep that focus amongst them, the individual ownership and focus, to stay positive, to drive through those hard times, and not let that culture break down.
With the league expanding, with the inclusion of a second Melbourne team, the Ducks, What challenges do you believe you will encounter this season when facing not only the Ducks but other clubs, and how are you preparing the team to tackle them?
Yeah, I mean, like having another team in Melbourne is great for the sport. It's expanding women's hockey in Australia. We've had some players leave and go to the Ducks, which has been a challenge, but with the girls that have come back or from overseas or from having children, yeah, I think we're in a good place. Yeah, I think the challenges from the other teams, like as a championship, the other teams are all focusing on us. They're all preparing every week, not just to play the team that they're playing, but eventually play us. So I think adapting our game into that kind of faster, modern hockey, allowing a little more creativity, and then having that solid structure defensively to fall back on, I think will negate a lot of those challenges that come up against other teams and allow us to just have a fundamental style that we play no matter who we play, as opposed to preparing for teams. They're all preparing for us. We're just going to play our game and go forward like that because it's a winning game. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a winning game and game plan, and I guess the pressure's sort of off a little bit if you've got to then try and match other clubs if you're just focusing on your game plan.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't like to. Obviously, we'll do a little bit, like we'll do pre-game scouting and stuff like that, but I don't like to adapt our game plan for other teams because that can cause breakdowns and confusion. Where if we have a solid game that we play that works against everyone, which our game plan does, then we don't. Then it's just this, every game's the same game.
So when you're talking about those sorts of game plans, with the sport growing and expanding and the inclusion with the Melbourne Ducks, when they're playing this year, it's not for points. What's the mindset like? Will teams back off, do you think, a little bit? Will they reserve a little bit for fear of injury or burnout, or they just keep playing?
I think that will depend, and we talk about that as coaches a lot too when those games are coming up. That will depend a lot on how competitive they're looking this year. Hopefully they are competitive this year, and then I think we just have to respect them like we do any other team. Go into those games with the same kind of preparation and the same game plan, but we will try to, all our home games, I think we're going to try and run a longer, like 4 lines as opposed to our traveling 3. And it will give opportunity for some of the younger, more developing girls to get some actual ice time and games against competitive teams, which will be great for the experience and the growth of those younger players to fill in the next few years those roles of retiring players. So, yeah.
Thanks. And you said with a lot of people who are coming back and that have started families or just having new children that are coming back, are they expected, will they be travelling or will they mostly be focusing at home this season?
Yeah, for us, we always have this ethos that I like to pass down of like priorities. Obviously, hockey is a priority for them, but it doesn't trump the priority of family, health, and work, right? Because it's not they're not getting paid to play yet, so obviously making sure that your family life and your work life and your health is top priorities, and then we kind of like to try and slot ourselves if we can in the 4th slot of priorities. So we'll play, I mean, we have commitment from all the girls that are playing that they want to travel, so we'll have them traveling. But if family issues or not even issues, if family priorities come up or health or whatnot, then we have enough depth that we can adjust and kind of change our traveling squad. That's why we wanted to really bring in 4 solid lines this year, because we can only travel with 3, and that gives us the adaptability to have the depth that we can. Any of the 3 lines that we decide to travel with are going to be phenomenal. So
you spoke about that it's really important that the club is aware that it's family first, and then secondary or further down the line, it's hockey. From a coaching standpoint, have you ever had the challenges of seeing a player come in and try too hard to maybe make the squad or stay in a line, where you've had to sort of just pull back and say, you need to prioritise yourself a bit more?
Sometimes, yeah, that definitely does come up. And that's part of like constant like communication with the players, and making sure that they understand that if like to take the priority of their family ahead of hockey, but also that it's a little bit of ownership on them if they want to keep pushing and prioritize the hockey, and they're competitive and playing well, and they can manage that. I mean, they have to make their own personal decisions as well, right? So
Exactly.
yeah.
I mean, it's a fine line between competitiveness and also that nurturing element, which is good for the sport itself, making sure that we're prioritising the well-being of the players as well. Now, speaking on the growth of women's ice hockey in Australia, how's the growth influenced by your coaching? Are we seeing new skills being developed into teams in their game plans? Is there anything fans can expect to see more of in this season?
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying earlier, like we're really trying to implement more of a faster, aggressive, modern style of hockey, which I think most of the teams are looking at. I think we've started to implement that last year and are really going full bore into that this year. So I think you'll see, yeah, especially in the neutral zone, you'll see a lot more aggressive approach from our defense when it comes to attacking the puck carrier quicker, taking away their options, and then also our forecheck's going to be extremely aggressive again this year. So, yeah.
Without really going into the game plan, are we more expecting faster puck movement if you're travelling from the D into more offensive zone, or is it faster skating?
A mix of both. I think obviously skating is super important. If you can have a fast skater that's got good puck control, they're given the freedom to, whether it's a forward or a defender, they're given the freedom to, if they have a lane, take it all the way in. But we also have really focused on good, quick puck movement through the neutral zone as well, having that puck support coming through the neutral zone so they have options, and making sure we don't get just angled into the wall, which happens a lot. Yes.
We've just seen Team Australia take on Team New Zealand in the inaugural Trans-Tasman Challenge, with no less than 7 of the Melbourne Ice players wearing the green gold and captained by Melbourne Ice fan favourite Stephanie Cochrane. This is an important step forward for the sport. How do you feel this will take women's hockey to the next level concerning global outreach? And how would you like to see the sport promoted?
Yeah, I think obviously we're really proud of the 7 players we have in the Trans-Tasman. I think of all the teams, Melbourne Ice has the biggest allotment of girls playing there. I think it's great for the sport to grow, especially those relationships with the team. I guess just across, not really across the pond, but across the, what's it called? Is it a channel? What is between here and?
Yeah, let's go with channel.
Yeah, okay. Anyway,
across the ditch.
Yeah, across the ditch, is that what it's known as? But I think it's I think it's good. It would be great to foster a tighter relationship between the teams in New Zealand, and I mean, who knows? I'd like to see in the future trying to maybe incorporate a team or two from New Zealand into this league. I think that would be really, really interesting. Obviously, the travel would be a bit of a challenge, but we travel to Perth anyways, from like Brisbane travels to Perth, Sydney, us. So I think it would be cool if we could expand the sport and the women's sports to include some of those teams, because they have some competitive players as well. We're actually bringing on an import from New Zealand that's going to be joining our team in a couple weeks. So.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I mean, that'll put a lot of pressure on help funding expanding in this league, and it's something that a lot of other sports and codes haven't been able to really jump across in AFL or the
Yeah,
rugby.
exactly. So it would be, if we could do that, that would be great. But obviously, there's a lot of challenges in the way there. So obviously, that's a long-term thing. But I think it also gives our national team a little bit more preparation for when it comes on to facing kind of the international stage. I think last year we were quite competitive in our. The national team was in the division they were in, only losing in the finals to North Korea. And I think having the ability to play as a national team against New Zealand, that gives us some more preparation opportunity and hopefully kind of brings us up a little more competitively and win that division next time it comes around. That'd be great to see.
Absolutely. As they say, there's no opportunity too small. So if this is the small step forward to something larger, that'll be exciting to see how that develops in the future.
Yeah.
Now, looking beyond this season, how do you see the future of women's ice hockey evolving both nationally and internationally?
Yeah, I mean, like women's sport just across the board, whether hockey or not, has been in the spotlight and has been growing. And I think that's positive steps forward. I think especially like when you look at hockey in Australia and the women's sport especially, there's a ton of talent here. And I think growing that talent on the international stage, whether it be in something like the Trans-Tasman or the AWIHL tournaments that we play in, brings more eyes to the sport. And I think if we can just bring more eyes to the sport, bring more funding is kind of a big thing, bring more sponsorship and funding, not just to women's hockey, but to women's sport across the board is great. And I think we're starting to see that happen, especially with like the Pro League in North America now for women's hockey, and WNBA's getting a lot of eyes on it. So I think in the next few years, you'll start hopefully seeing more funding coming into these leagues and give us more resources to expand, and then with the expansion and resources, we'll get more eyes on the sport. So.
Right. And that's really with the help and the support of everybody at home that's watching this. It all starts with the people in the stands to support these teams. So it's come along to these games. The more inclusive we can be, the more diverse, the more equality that we can promote in sport is going to do a lot more to see it continue growth and fair.
For sure, yeah. And that's like a big thing is like, I know when we played out in Perth, both games we played there were sold out, and it was such a great atmosphere to have that many fans in the stands. And those are two really tight games. And it means a lot to the girls to have a full stand. So yeah, just to bring more people out into our home games would be amazing. To sell out a home game here with such a big arena to play at, and like one of the best arenas, if not the best arena in Australia to play in. I think if the fans can start coming out. I mean, we get a good turnout already, but let's love to see those stands fill up for every home game.
Exactly, especially off the back of another championship win. So
exactly.
We can expect to see a lot more growth again this season, as we did with other leagues in ice hockey across Melbourne. We've started to see some incredible growth. So, and naturally, that's going to continue through this league as well. And not only it's just the players and the people in this sport that help grow it. There are so many great big personalities out there that are help driving the diversity and the inclusion of women's sport, and it's really great to see. And people are really responding well to it, which is incredible. Mm-hmm. Now, your season starts this coming November the 2nd against the Brisbane Lightning. Are there any standout players or rising stars that we should keep an eye out for?
Yeah, I mean, we're full of standout players and stars. I think the return of Christina Julien this year, she played a couple games for us last year, and I think her points total from the few games she played last year almost held up through 3/4 of the season last year. So having her back, and I mean, when she stepped on the ice for her first training, she looked better than she did last season. So I think, obviously, not putting any pressure on her, but I think we'll see a lot of exciting hockey from her. People like Emily coming back from playing overseas. Yeah, she's played in a great program over there and brings a lot of that experience back to the team here. And she will be a massive part of kind of the energy and the team as well. And then, one of our imports, we brought an import in from China who's played for their national team and is a pretty electric player who drives the net hard. So she's going to be exciting to watch as well. And then, we got 2 fantastic goaltenders returning again this year, which will give us that stability between the pipes with Michaela and Kayla. So, there'll be a dynamic duel between the pipes, and we're just gonna, play them as whoever's the hot hand type of a situation there, and they're gonna
whoever's feeling it on the day.
Exactly, yeah. So, and like we have a fantastic goalie coach in Brian, and he's in tune with how they're feeling. So that's really great as a head coach and the coaching staff that we can just rely on his kind of relationship with the goaltenders to make those decisions. So yeah, it's really nice.
That's a very rare thing, especially in ice hockey, to have 2 incredible goalies that you could just switch in and out at any moment.
Yeah.
We've seen that, especially in the Australian Ice Hockey League. That there was it's really hard for homegrown talent to sort of get a chance. So to be able to have 2 incredible goalies that you can switch in at any moment, that's something rare and something to look forward to.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's just a luxury to have, to be honest.
Yeah.
So and it's luxury we will utilize. So yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Now, the Halloween season opener is here at O'Brien's Ice House on November the 2nd at 5 p.m. Now, tickets are $15 and available for purchase here at O'Brien's Ice House, and you can watch the games live through AWIHL.tv or follow the Melbourne Ice on Facebook to stay up to date with more information and news. Curtis, thank you so much for joining Network Hockey this afternoon. It's incredible chat to you. All the best for the season, and let's go back to back.
Yeah, we'll go back to back for sure. It was a pleasure.
Thanks so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was good. That was awesome.
Thanks
for your time today. That was great.
Yeah, it was great.
Do you mind if I watch
let's watch a little bit of tape here.
Pass across the Scarlet. Bullen now in attack. Bullen firing.
I still don't know how that went in. That was such a nice shot from Arnie.
Wasn't it? That was great. That was so good.
You can see it on their faces how much that took the pressure off for them.
Hey, who's the captain this year?
Our captain will be Stephanie Cochran, veteran player. She's going to be fantastic in that role. And then our associate captains, we have Ashley Athaparicio. Can never pronounce her last name properly, but so she's going to kind of take more of a senior leadership role there. And then we have 2 younger players who have been great examples off and on the ice in Marnie Poland, who we just saw score that amazing 4th goal, and returning player Emily Davis-Tope.
Stephanie Cochran, captain, wearing that C. That's going to be incredible.
Yeah, it's going to be great to have the C on her this year.